Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. It is a Wednesday edition of the show, and since we are in season, you all know what that means. It is our preview episode, as today we will be previewing the Week 2 matchup for the Buccaneers as they try to finally defeat the Detroit Lions after missing out twice last year. We'll see if they can do it this time around in this season. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place at PewterReport.com, SR Scott Reynolds. Scott, how are we doing?
Doing better than some of the Buccaneers. We'll have an injury report coming up here in just a little bit, but that guy right there, Kalijah Kancey, he didn't practice today. Don't think he's going to play. We'll see what happens later in the week. This calf injury, man, it gives you a little bit of consternation because this is a guy, Matt, you talk about having some games against the Lions. Kalijah Kancey has 2 out of the 5 sacks that the Bucs defense has had against Jared Goff in those 2 games. Got his first NFL sack against Jared Goff, as a matter of fact, back in week 6 in that creamsicle game, and then got one of the 2 sacks against Jared Goff in the playoffs last year. So I'm not ruling him out yet, but Kalijah Kancey wasn't out there at practice, but Logan Hall was out at practice, and so was Zion McCollum. Those 2 players, I think, have a chance of maybe seeing some action on Sunday and suiting up for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, Kalijah Kancey has been kind of a lion tamer, if you will, when he's gone up against the Detroit Lions. And, you know, if Bucs fans that watched the Sunday night game between the Rams and Detroit, you saw some of the youngins on Los Angeles, like Jared Verse, who we talked about a lot during the during the draft process, of being able to get after Jared Goff, and that kind of slowed down the Lions a little bit. They still obviously had their way, but yeah, you would love to have someone like Kalijah Kancey in this matchup. No Josh Hayes as well at practice, along with Antoine Winfield Jr. We'll talk about them in a little bit. The good news is, of course, that Logan Hall was out there participating, did some defensive drills, and Zion McCollum was wearing a non-contact jersey. But the fact that it's Wednesday and he's already out there, hopefully is a good sign of things to come, and maybe something that Bucs fans can celebrate when or if they play on Sunday. And speaking of celebrations, we want to give a special shout out, a super chat that was given to us offline, but we want to say a happy anniversary to Brandon Riley and his lovely wife. As Brandon Riley says, not Bucs related, but I wanted to wish my gorgeous wife a happy 25th anniversary. You're the only thing I love more than my Bucs. Well, Brandon and your wife, congratulations to you guys on 25 years of marriage. Brandon actually told me they are in Jamaica right now in celebration of their anniversary. So whenever you guys get a chance to listen to this, on behalf of Pewter Report, happy anniversary to the 2 of you. And hopefully the Bucs can get you guys a win on Sunday, but hope you guys are enjoying Sandals, Jamaica.
Happy anniversary.
At the time. Yeah, very happy anniversary.
Yeah, so some injury news that we were able to kind of see in the locker room. Josh Hayes, the cornerback, who was a special teams gunner. He's really the 4th cornerback on the depth chart. Of course, you got Jamel Dean, Zion McCollum, the starters. Bryce Hall was number 3. Now number 3 is Tyreek Funderburk, the rookie, the undrafted free agent. And the newly signed Keenan Isaac, who has been in 2 camps with Tampa Bay and played 2 preseasons. He was released during the roster cuts, claimed off waivers by Carolina. Carolina cut him on Saturday to the Bucs' benefit and fortune because he knows this scheme and system. Now he's back in the fold, and he is going to be that cornerback 4. Hopefully, they don't have to get to him. Hopefully, these starting corners, whether it's Zion or whether it's Tyreek Funderburk, opposite Jamel Dean, stay healthy. But Josh Hayes was limping in a boot. I don't know that he's going to be back for a while now. And his boot was actually a longer boot. It was a boot that kind of almost came up just to the knee, and he was limping around. The good news is I saw Antoine Winfield Jr. put his boot on. His walking boot is different. It's much shorter. If you want to say that Josh Hayes was like wearing a high top sneaker, this was like wearing a low cut sneaker. Okay. And Antoine Winfield Jr. wasn't limping. So I think that bodes well. What I was told is this is a 2 to 4 week injury. The team is hoping for obviously the 2 rather than the 4. He's going to miss this game for sure. Don't get your hopes up. And he'll miss the next week's game as well. Maybe there's a shot that he plays, Matt, against the Eagles, or maybe he doesn't return until the Falcons game. But they're hoping for maybe that Eagles game if this is an injury that kind of like with Yaya Diaby, where it wasn't as bad as it initially was feared. And we saw Yaya walking around without a boot for a while during training camp. Of course, there's no reason to have him in a boot because he wasn't going to play anytime soon. But I think so far so good for Winfield, at least from what I saw.
Yeah, and I saw him with the boot as well. I actually saw him for a little bit when he was just barefoot at the moment. And as we know, Antoine Winfield Jr. does like to work out barefoot at the beginning of practice, like when calisthenics are going on and things of that nature. And I didn't see like any bruising or anything like that. I know it's an ankle sprain, but I was expecting to see something where you could point out from a distance to be like, ooh, that's good or that's bad. And the fact that I didn't really see anything, I think overall is a good thing. And I also kind of believe that obviously the Bucs would prefer to have Antoine Winfield Jr. back as soon as possible. But I also do wonder, given the Bucs schedule or given how they can, if they can build on top of their 1-0 start, if they were to upset Detroit, this week and beat Denver the following week, it may buy them some time to let Antoine Winfield Jr. kind of heal up a little bit more.
Yeah.
But if the Bucs were to falter over the next 2 weeks, now it's like, oh crap, like we really need Antoine Winfield Jr. back. And we don't know how the game will play out. It may be something where the defense is fine and the offense sputters or whatever it may be. But yeah, I would not expect Josh Hayes out for a while. Tavier Thomas, who surprisingly didn't play at all, like defensively. He had special team snaps in the first game. But you would expect to have him ready to go and in some type of role, kind of like we talked about Tyreek Funderburg.
Yeah.
First career game coming up this week, maybe his first career start as well. Yeah. So really throwing him into the fire against a Detroit team that is loaded really everywhere.
Yeah, it really is. This Lions team, you really try to find the holes on it offensively and defensively, and it's hard. Just looking at their depth chart, obviously Jared Goff is a really good processor. He's really become an advanced guy in this offense. Knows it like the back of his hand. He's a good operator. Distributes the ball to the playmakers. They got a 1-2 punch in the backfield at running back. David Montgomery is kind of the anvil in there, the guy that you want to hammer in between the tackles and get those tough yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, great pass catcher. And certainly an explosive guy. Go back to that playoff game, Matt. It was a close game heading into the fourth quarter, 17-17. That 31-yard touchdown run kind of broke things open. He's an explosive, speedy back. The Bucs loved him coming out of the draft. He was one of the players that they had in for a top 30 visit. But it's as capable of 1-2 punches you'll find anywhere in the league. And then a receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, we know that he has been an absolute butt killer. Averaging, I think, 10 catches a game or some ridiculous stat like that. Jamison Williams was the big-time playmaker in week 1, while Amon-Ra St. Brown had a little bit more of a quiet game.
Yeah.
But Williams certainly was that explosive guy down the field. We've seen what he's able to do, catching that touchdown pass on Ryan Neal back in week 6. And then Sam Laporta, the tight end, he is an up-and-comer. I think very soon, if he's not already, he's going to be in that Kittle, Kelsey conversation. He's a very good athlete.
Yeah, and that's where it comes down to a lot of the different matchups that we didn't see as much last year. For example, I mean, St. Brown can line up anywhere, but he does a lot of damage in the slot. And if you recall, especially that first game in Tampa when the Bucs wore the creamsicle jerseys, a big narrative of that game was Ryan Neal was a second too late, and Amon-Ra St. Brown and some of the other guys, not even St. Brown, but just the Lions receivers in general, were able to make big plays. Well, this time around, you have Jordan Whitehead back there kind of in the Ryan Neal role, which hopefully should help out a little bit. And while Christian Izien isn't Antoine Winfield Jr., Izien's got the hustle where if there's certain plays where it was a split second and Ryan Neal was defeated on it, I'm willing to bet Christian Izien would be the guy there in that situation. And then for St. Brown specifically, while Izien was the guy in the slot last year, Now you have Tyke Smith, who, obviously he's a rookie going into his second game, but I think we all feel more confident with Tyke Smith as a nickel corner and starting there for the Bucs than necessarily Isian against Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then the last thing as well is kind of platooning that linebacker situation with KJ Britt on first and second down. Maybe it's a lot of Servassier Dennis against Hawkinson.
I think so.
Laporta. Got Iowa on the mind. Against Laporta in this matchup against Detroit. I mean, there's going to be no easy way for the Buccaneers defense, even with a fully healthy group.
Exactly.
But I think they have a little bit of different looks and matchups, even from a season ago, that may be able to help them in Sunday's contest.
You're reading my mind, Matt. I really believe this is a game where we might see more Servassier Dennis as opposed to KJ Britt. Now, KJ actually had a pretty good game up there against the Lions. I think he had 8 tackles in the first quarter when the Lions were running the ball a little bit more, or at least trying to. But Servassier Dennis can do much more in terms of his pass coverage and also as a blitzer. We saw that sack against Jaden Daniels, his first NFL sack. Just a better athlete, faster, more agile type of defender. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Servassier Dennis kind of flips the script a little bit, where you had KJ getting almost 2-to-1 reps over Servassier. That might be closer to 50-50 now. We'll see. The interesting thing too, Matt, is the position versatility and the cross training, right? Tyke Smith can play nickel. He can also play safety. You've got Jordan Whitehead who can play cover 3, the high single safety or cover 1, but he's mostly a box safety, but he has the position flexibility to do that. Christian Isian, more of probably a free safety type, but Tavier Thomas can play nickel or safety. So there's a couple of guys, if Bowles wants to give Jared Goff some looks, he might flip Isian and Tyke Smith and have Tyke play safety on a play and Isian play in the slot. So at least there's some options. This is not going to be a static defense where he's going to trot out 11 guys and say, Jared, this is who you're facing. We're going to see Servassier and KJ. We're going to see Tyke and Isian and maybe in some different spots. So I like the positional flexibility of some of these guys in the defensive backfield. And also, too, Logan Hall can provide some pass rush on the inside. He's no Kalijah Kancey, but you might see a situation where, and this is kind of the package I'm screaming for, JTS on the inside as a nickel rusher, Chris Braswell, and Yaya Diaby on the outside. I'd like to see that along with Vita Vea on the inside to really give the Lions offensive line some speed and some power inside to have to deal with.
That really has me thinking, Scott, because we've seen before Todd Bowles, yes, he has his regular standard defense, but let's go back to the postseason, not the game against the Lions, but against the Eagles. They came up with a defense with Zion McCollum playing safety that we didn't really see at all during the regular season. It was something completely different in a second matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. I wonder if the fact that the Bucs played Detroit twice last season, including Detroit ending Tampa Bay season when they went there in the second round. And let's face it, the Lions kind of had their way with Todd Bowles and the Bucs defense in both of those games. I know it's early and you already have a lot of looks that you haven't given out just yet, but I wonder if Todd Bowles will go into his bag of tricks and kind of with some of the things you mentioned and just bring something completely different that the Lions haven't seen on tape in those 2 games from last season.
He kind of needs to, because Jared Goff, the statistics are almost identical. It's about 67% completion percentage in both games last year. I think if you average it out, it's around 300 yards per game. I think 280 one game and 320 the next. 2 touchdowns in both games, or I should say each game, for a combined 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's got to do something to mix it up, because Jared Goff and the Lions put up even more points in that second game than they did in the first. But Goff, statistically speaking, almost 2 identical games. He's got to do something to mix it up. You can't, especially with a depleted secondary, give Jared Goff the time. This is not the game, in my opinion, to go soft zone and drop 7. Goff's too good. He'll sit there and he'll find the open guy. And there's enough good guys to get open, even if it's 7 defenders versus 5 eligible targets. It just doesn't work that way. In my opinion, you just bring the kitchen sink. You're either going to die quickly or die a slow death. I'd rather just die quickly, get it over with. But you have to pressure him. Get him to the ground, hit him, disrupt him, make him uncomfortable, and maybe he throws an interception or two that changes the game. But right now, if Todd Bowles goes into this game playing the soft zone and dropping 7 and trying to double guys, if you give Goff time and you can't get home with 4 rushers, you're going to lose. So you might as well just bring the kitchen sink and try to get the knockout punch.
Right, and we'll get to the super chat from Redfish in one moment. But I think another good example of that is going back to the Sunday night game with the Rams and the Lions. Yes, the Rams got burned on that big touchdown to Jameson Williams down the field, but they brought a lot of pressure. They were able to get to Jared Goff, even if it was with the defensive line.
Yeah.
And up until overtime, they only gave up 20 points against the Lions.
Right.
That's pretty good.
That is good,
against Detroit. Like if the Bucs go in Sunday and only allow 20 points against that Detroit offense, there's a chance the Bucs can win this game.
That's right.
And even if they end up losing a possession based on Goff going deep and maybe the Bucs get burned deep, which sometimes it just happens because there's a miscommunication in the busting coverage. I'd rather the Bucs go all or nothing with it as well. I agree there. Thank you to Redfish for this $4.99 super chat, who says, blocking was an issue versus the Lions in the playoffs and versus the Commanders, even some whiffs. Do you know if/how the Bucs are making adjustments? Follows that up with a great opportunity Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember this is a new offensive scheme. There's more running plays in this offense than there was in Dave Canales. I think almost 2-1. I mean, it's just very diverse in terms of the running game. You also have 2 tackles that didn't play outside of a handful of plays on that opening drive in Luke Gedeke and Tristan Wirfs. They just didn't play in the preseason outside of that one opening drive against the Dolphins. Then you have Bredesen, who is a brand new guard playing next to a brand new rookie center and also a new left tackle that he hasn't played with before, Tristan Wirfs. Cody Mauch is in his second season, a little bit better, still has to work on that down in, down out consistency. And then you have Graham Barton, who's brand spanking new, not just to the NFL, but to center, a position he hasn't played since his true freshman season at Duke, where he had 5 starts. So you throw all that together, it's going to take some time. There's going to be some breakdowns. And I guarantee you can look across the league, especially at maybe the teams that lost, and say, wow, you didn't play your starters enough in the preseason. The NFL, it's a work in progress. A lot of starters don't play in the preseason, or if they do, they play very little. And so week 1, it's a lot like college football week 1, where it's your first runny go at it, and there's going to be mistakes to get fixed. So I would expect there to be some improvement from week 1 and week 2. And now you got some film that you can correct, right? Now you can go back and on film and say, we got to do this, we got to do that. And Matt, we talked about it even last year. You can't really get better in the run game until game days, because you just don't practice it at full speed or anywhere near full speed. Even in training camp, you're not at full speed. You're not knocking guys to the ground and all of that. So the running game, you can do all of the steps. You can get everything in sync. You can work on your timing. But in terms of the physicality of the run game, the push, the double teams, all of that stuff, you really don't get a chance to improve on that until game day, because that's where it's 100% violence, not in practice where you can't be as violent because you don't want to hurt your own teammates.
And I think the good news, too, is that a lot of the quote-unquote issues with blocking for the Bucs are very fixable with the tape and just better technique and things of that nature. And, sometimes you run into issues where, like, Cody Mauch just flat out missed a defensive lineman in pass blocking. That's going to happen from time to time, but get better as the season goes on. By the way, speaking of the run game and blocking, a little surprise on the injury report. Luke Gedeke was limited in practice, but he's dealing with a concussion. So that's something to monitor for the rest of the week.
It just came out.
KJ Britt was limited with an illness. Yeah, the injury report literally just came out. Will Golson limited with an elbow injury. Josh Hayes' ankle did not practice. Logan Hall was limited with the foot injury. Kalijah Cansey did not practice with the calf injury. Zion McCollum limited, like we talked about, with concussion, and Antoine Winfield Jr. did not participate. Obviously, he's dealing with that foot injury. So the Gedeke thing is pretty big. We'll have to pay attention to that for tomorrow and Friday as well. But let's also get back to these.
Well, actually, I'll tell you what. Since we're doing the injury report, let's roll down the Lions here too, because they have maybe some significant injuries too. We'll see how the week plays out. A couple of starters did not participate, and these are some big names. Marcus Davenport, their starting defensive end, groin injury. Kirby Joseph, the safety, hamstring, did not participate. Ifatu Melifonwu, safety, ankle, did not participate. Penei Sewell, right tackle, ankle, did not participate. Jamison Williams, wide receiver, ankle, was limited. And then a couple of full participation guys, defensive tackle DJ Reader with the quadricep, Lauren Strickland, the safety with the thumb injury, and Carlton Davis, the third, cornerback, chest injury, full participation. So we'll see how the injury report shakes out. Some big names on that list for both teams.
Carlton almost had a pick in that first game, but shockingly, he dropped it.
And then he gets hurt.
Yeah. Thank you to Paul, a.k.a. Florida Dreamhouse, who was gifted one Pewter Report membership to cool. Anybody that wants it. Thank you so much. And it looks like Richard Balachin may have been the one to take it. Thank you, Richard, for becoming a Pewter Report YouTube channel member. And again, thank you so much, Paul, a.k.a. Florida Dreamhouse, who also had this to say. Let's support PR TV, give some memberships, and spread the good news.
Appreciate
Hot
that.
take.
So much.
Baker throws 3 touchdowns and 300 yards. Godwin, Otten, Evans, each with a touchdown. Bucs squeak out a win. Well, Paul, a.k.a. Florida Dreamhouse, I know your fantasy team would be doing pretty well if that's the case, as you took mostly all Buccaneers. And, Baker's on a roll. He just won the FedEx Air Player of the Week. He was on Tom Brady's one of his 3 stars of the week. And so, Baker's rolling. He leads the NFL in touchdown passes right now. And, hopefully that continues week in and week out.
Yeah.
Obviously, the secondary and really just a defense that's pretty bad. But you know what? Detroit, they got some young guys in the secondary as well.
Terry
and also
Arnold.
playing a rookie. So, Terry and Arnold specifically.
Carlton
Could
Davis.
be another case for, Carlton obviously familiar with the Bucs, but the Bucs are familiar with him and his strengths and weaknesses. So could be another matchup where, yes, running the football is important, but like Mike Evans against a rookie, I'm taking Mike every single day. Yeah. And, same with Chris Godwin.
No doubt. Wanted to thank another new Pewter Report TV channel member, Joseph, for joining. Thank you so much. And as always, we want to thank every show our Pewter Platinum channel members, Scott Federico, Guru, Scotty J, Rachel Gordon, and Noah Parr. Thank you so much for your support.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
If you want to become a Pewter Report channel member, well, it's really easy to do. All you have to do is go to the front page of Pewter Report TV, and you can hit the join button, and you'll find out more about how you can support our efforts here at Pewter Report and become a channel member. There's 4 different memberships ranging from $3.99 a month to $24.99. Our Pewter Premier members and our Pewter Platinum members, in addition to all of the loyalty badges, emojis, and early access to videos, they get the weekly shout-outs for their memberships as well, and the daily memberships for the Pewter Platinum members. But they also get an exclusive Pewter Insider video that we do every Friday at 1:30. Matt and I do this, and this is the topic for Friday, how the banged-up Bucs can beat the Lions. We're going to dive into that with another day's worth of insight from our locker room interviews, et cetera, tomorrow. So this is Friday for our Pewter Insiders, the Pewter Premier and Pewter Platinum memberships. You'll get this at 1:30. You can join us live, or if you miss it, it's archived on Pewter Report TV. And also wanted to let you know I'm in the giving mood today because the Buccaneers had such a nice, big, resounding win that I've got the opportunity for you to join us with the Bet US crowd. If you want to become a Bet US member, and if you sign up for that, and this is how you do it. You go to Bet US and use the promo code Pewter. They're going to give you a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits plus a 10% gambler's insurance. So it's a great way to support our new partner, Bet US. They're going to give you a great bonus to sign up so you can do all of your sportsbook and your wagering there at Bet US. They're our new partner. And I've got a special bonus for you. for the first 10 people that send me, and my email address is sr@pewterreport.com. It's easy. Just when you sign up, send me a screenshot of your signing up. It's not going to have any of your financial information, but it'll have your account plus your deposit. All you have to do is make a deposit of $50 or more, and sign up for BetUS. I'm going to send you an absolutely free pewterreport.com t-shirt. We have them in black. We got them in white. We have them in gray. So all you have to do, I need your size, and you can send me that via email, sr@pewterreport.com, and sign up for BetUS and take advantage of that offer. You use promo code Pewter when you do to get that bonus. I'm sending you a free t-shirt for the first 10 Pewter Report people that sign up for that.
Yeah, that's a great way to get some Pewter Report merch. Of course, we love seeing our fans, especially at training camp. We see some people rocking Pewter Report shirts. So, yeah, please help us out and join along and check out my bets on Pewter Picks and Props coming up on Friday as well.
And yes, you can use BetUS in Florida as well. So it's an international site. So that's the best way to do it. Wish you all for this last week. Guess I already signed up. I'm going to send you one too, Hezo. I'm going to send you a shirt. So you
deserve it, Hezo.
You deserve it. You email me, and I'm happy to send you a shirt. All I need is your size, and sr@pewterreport.com. I'll do like a little graphic for that, and the next 9 people outside of Hezo that sign up and email me will get a t-shirt. All I need is what color you want and what size shirt, and I'll send it to you free of charge.
All right. So what side do you feel better about going into this game? Is it the Bucs offense against the Lions defense, or is it the Bucs defense against the Lions offense? I feel like it has to be the Bucs offense just based off of the injuries to the defense and really just the way that the offense was able to roll in that, that first game of the season.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Here I am. I'm trying to be clever, and I don't have my full email address on there. There we go. sr@pewterreport.com. That's all you got to do. sr@pewterreport.com. Send me that information, and I'm happy to send you a shirt. To your point, Matt, I think it's got to be the offense because of the explosiveness of this offense with Jalen McMillan, with Cade Otton, who also scored a touchdown at Detroit last week, and the 1-2 punch of not just Rachaad White, but Bucky Irving. And one of the things that I you go back and you look, and it wasn't really that bad statistically for the Buccaneers. I mean, they only ran the ball 15 times, Matt, but Rachaad White did have 55 yards rushing. He averaged 6.1 yards per carry. They totaled 89 yards, but I think that was a function of them just not running the ball enough against the Lions. They averaged 5.9 yards per carry, which is one of their better rushing days. You look at the efficiency of it all. Baker Mayfield threw for 349 yards and 3 touchdowns, and they were right there 17-17 heading into the fourth quarter. Then I think the defense just kind of broke down a little bit. But go back to that game. This is going to come down to 2 things. And this is not really, I'm not giving away any trade secrets here, folks. This is kind of as basic as it gets. But if you go back to this play right here, this should be an interception by Jamel Dean. And this is the first quarter. The Lions only got a field goal from this, but this should have kept 3 points off the board. Maybe give the Buccaneers a little bit of momentum. Remember, Jared Goff has not been picked off by Tampa Bay in these last 2 games in the Lions. So the Lions had 2 interceptions on Baker Mayfield. That was kind of the difference in the game. One of those interceptions came on the last drive. It was backed up. The Buccaneers were backed up close to their own end zone. Time was running out. Kind of a forced pass. They needed a touchdown plus a 2-point conversion to tie. It wasn't a good play, right? But more importantly, this was the only field goal that the Lions made in that game. The others were touchdowns. So when you look at this is going to be a red zone game. It's going to come down to which team is more effective in the red zone. Touchdowns are going to beat the Lions, not field goals. So if I'm Todd Bowles and Liam Cohen and I'm in the red zone, I'm not settling for field goals. I got to get touchdowns on the road. Again, when you're wounded, and this team is wounded on defense without Kalijah Kancey in the secondary, Matt, I think you got to go for the knockout. The little jabs are not going to do it. You're not going to win on the scorecard. You got to win with the knockout. So this is one of those games where you go for broke. You try to get touchdowns in the red zone, even if it's 4th and 4 from the 13. Maybe you still go for it, even if it's in the first half. I want to see Todd Bowles be aggressive, take the fight to them. That's number one. Number two, aside from winning in the red zone, you got to get takeaways. You've got to even that score. In those 2 games combined last year, the Lions had 3 interceptions of Baker Mayfield, one of which was a tip pass, if you remember, in week 6, and then the other 2 interceptions in the playoffs. The Bucs don't have a takeaway against the Lions. That's got to change. If they want to have a chance to win, you got to go up to Detroit and at least be even on the takeaway chart. It's got to be a plus on the turnover margin on your side, or at least even. You can't be giving the Lions opportunities to score points by giving them the ball. And I think number 3, Baker Mayfield said this, Todd Bowles said this is going to be a physical game. The Lions are a physical team in the trenches, offensively and defensively. That they take that Dan Campbell mentality seriously. And as Farouk Wahab says, you got to be more physical. This is a what do you call it? Measuring stick game. That's what Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, that's the word that's been thrown around.
Yeah. This is do you want to be in the divisional round, or do you want to be in the NFC Championship game? Because the 49ers are incredibly physical in the trenches. So are the Lions. The Buccaneers, if you want to join that party, you got to show up and be as physical as the Lions, if not more. And so I think this is going to be a big test in the trenches, Matt. Those are kind of my 3 keys to victory. Win in the red zone, touchdowns, not field goals. Got to win the turnover margin, or at least have it be even at some point. 1-1, 0-0, 2-2, whatever. And then you've got to be more physical.
The Bucs have shown that they are and can be a playoff contender, but do they want to be a championship contender? I think those are 2 different categories.
Great way to put it.
And the fact that they play the Lions and the 49ers, who went against each other in the NFC Championship game. And I still think, even though they beat them last year, the Eagles seem kind of revamped. Now they have Saquon Barkley. I think the Eagles is still very much a measuring stick game too, because
I agree.
While they played twice last year, it's 1-1. So who's going to get the the tiebreaker?
As much as the Bucs want revenge against the Lions, the Eagles are going to want revenge against the Bucs in a couple weeks.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see what the records are at that point. Yeah, I was kind of thinking more. You're absolutely right about the offense. I was kind of thinking of the defense, of just kind of having that bend but don't break type of, not mentality. You don't want to go and being like, they're going to go down the field on us. We just got to stop them within the red zone. But yeah, I think that was a major issue last year, is the Bucs couldn't necessarily get those big time stops. We've seen them have some problems on 3rd down as well. But if there's just a couple of ways in which they can stop the run, or at least just get the Lions out of their rhythm. The Lions are such a rhythm team.
They are
getting guys in motion. They can get you underneath. Just being able to stop that one way or another, I think, will go a very long way. And with the turnover battle, there's going to be at least one opportunity in Sunday's game where the Bucs are going to have a chance to take the ball away. Maybe it's an interception. Maybe it's kind of like the forced fumble on Jaden Daniels that they weren't able to recover. But they're going to get at least one opportunity. And I don't like the fact that Jared Goff threw an interception last week, because I feel like he's going to be more prone to be secure with the ball this time around. Yeah. But it may be a tip pass, like you were talking about. It may be some type of fluky play. But do the Bucs take advantage of that one opportunity? Yeah. Like as Eminem says, you only get one shot. In the famous 8 Mile song, "Lose Yourself."
Very appropriate with the Bucs playing the Lions this week.
Yeah, because there's been many times where, whether it's Jamel Dean last season, Levante David last Sunday, where you just go, "Oh, the Bucs had it. They had it. It was in his hands."
He had a ball,
and then they don't come down with it.
Yeah.
So if you want to beat the championship contenders and put yourself in that category, you have to make those big plays.
I agree.
In the moment. And if the Bucs win against Detroit, and then they should beat up on the Broncos, that sets up a great matchup against the Eagles.
Sure does.
If the Bucs win this Sunday, I think everybody has to put them in the championship contender category.
Yeah. This is one of those games where it is a measuring stick game, and how much progress have they made against the Lions? Can they go up there and get a road win? You got to win on the road in the playoffs. You just have to. It's rare that you get the Super Bowl in your own stadium. The Buccaneers did that. They won a Super Bowl at Ray J, and same thing with the Rams the next year at SoFi Stadium. But more often than not, in the postseason, you're going to have to go on the road and get those wins. We're talking about physicality in the defense, Matt, and I do want to show a video here. Josh Capo got this clip, and let me just cue this video up here. I'm going to talk it through, and I'm going to play it a couple of times. I want you to watch Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. He is on the left of your screen going up against the left tackle, so he's on the right side of the defense. And if you watch him, see how quickly he gets into the tackle for this sack? That's the sack fumble that the ball goes right into Levante David's hands. I'm going to cue it up again a couple times here. But watch JTS again. Instead of running around the tackle, he gets this tackle short setting at 3 yards, and then when he gets around with the club rip, guess what? He is at the quarterback level. He is not around the quarterback. In other words, in years past, he used to have that speed rush where he would wheel himself around the quarterback. But in this instance, it's a perfect play. And I talked to him about this today, and he said that this is part of his repertoire. He's been working on getting more physical, taking the fight to the tackles. Instead of just trying to run around him, he gets right into the chest and then is able to turn that corner. I'm going to play this again. Now I want you to watch Yaya Diaby.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was
Watch
about
the
to say.
other side. Watch what he does with going inside on number 71 here. You talk about beating someone to the sack. I mean, Yaya is half a step away from getting that sack. We'll play it again here. This is a nice 1-2 punch. If these guys can really get going like this, it's gonna be problems for quarterbacks, because this is collapsing the pocket. And again, that ball is right in the hands of Levante David. Now, the final time, I want you to watch Vita Vea. I'm not sure why he hesitates here, but watch what he does to the left guard. Hesitates and then just decides, I'm going to go right through you. And just buries him. Oh, Vita. Vita can't hesitate. He has got to just get right into that guard and drive him right back into the quarterback, just like what happened with the center in that Dolphins game. So, if the Bucs can have more of these types of plays against a pocket passer like Jared Goff, this is what they're going to have to do. Then you throw a faster, more athletic guy like Logan Hall in the mix instead of Greg Gaines at defensive tackle. And Matt, I like this week's nickel rush package better than I liked last week's with Logan Hall possibly playing in this game.
That was a great move by Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, but I can't help but think, like, my first reaction was, I don't know if he still gets that sack, not because it wasn't a good move by JTS, but I don't know if he gets that sack without Yaya Diaby essentially forcing Jaden Daniels to step, another 2 yards back and go essentially right into the hands of Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. So that was just a great move where they sent Levante on the play, but as far as blitzes go, that was the most mundane blitz that, Todd Bowles has in his repertoire. The Vita thing, it's very curious. I don't think he was doing this, but from time to time, you'll see someone on a pass rush. They kind of like pause for a second and like the lineman starts looking another way and then they rush to get through the gap. I'm not saying that's what Vita was going for, but I am curious if like that was kind of the design on the play. But I don't think Vita needs to hesitate for anything, because usually when he's locked in with a one-on-one pass rush, he's going to, if he doesn't get by the lineman, he's pushing that lineman, very far into the backfield. So that was a nice example of when the pass rush gets home without having to blitz 1,000 different people. Again, Levante was in on the play, but hopefully JTS can keep this up, because obviously the Lions have Penei Sewell, if he does play, who's right up there with Tristan Wirfs as one of the best offensive tackles. So I'm not going to say that negates Yaya or whoever the Bucs decide to line up on that side, but you may need some of those other rotation guys at outside linebacker to get to Jared Goff if Sewell has his way. But also Yaya went up against Tristan Wirfs a fair amount in training camp, so old iron sharpens iron adage. We will see.
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of understand too with Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. He's 25 years old now, still kind of a young kid, right? And he's had some success in the league, but he's also felt that expectation and maybe that burden of being the first round pick, and he's not the double-digit sacker that he was drafted to be, etc. And I talked to him today, and he has the aerodynamic look. He basically has almost a shaved head.
Yep.
He and Rashad White and Bucky Irving all got rid of their hair, and the more aerodynamic now. Todd Bowles even said that that it helps Joe in terms of getting to the quarterback. He's more aerodynamic.
Yeah.
But the thing with Joe is he has a lot of confidence. He just has a different look about him this year. And look at what happened on Sunday with that sack fumble in game one. This could be a launching point. We've seen this before. Gosh, the Falcons game a couple years ago, he had a great sack in that game. He had 2 sacks against Mac Jones in New England 3 seasons ago in 2022. It's like you want him to like find that launching pad and just take off like a rocket. And he's just had too many false starts. He's had those glimpses, but then he disappears. He's got to be consistent. Chris Braswell is not ready to become that down in, down out pass rusher. Anthony Nelson's a great rotational guy, but you don't want him starting. This has got to be the Yaya and the JTS show. And so far, so good. JTS with the sack fumble in week 1 against a very mobile quarterback. And he almost got that sack again on Servassier Dennis's play because
I think
Servassier,
I think it should have been a half sack.
Yeah, beat him to the punch by half a step, just the way JTS beat Yaya to Jaden Daniels by half a step. But so far, so good for JTS. Hopefully, this can be that springboard game, that launching pad game. Man, they need to get some pressure on Jared Goff this week.
One thing that could help their pass rush as well is maybe having a Celsius before.
No doubt about it.
Of course, Celsius is the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. Check out some of their newest flavors like the sparkling watermelon lemonade and the sparkling kiwi strawberry. So many great flavors of Celsius. If you need to know where to find a Celsius energy drink, go to the store locator on their website, punch in your address, and it'll tell you the closest location where you can pick one up. Could be a Walmart, a Stop and Shop, a King Cullen, a health and fitness store, a Piggly Wiggly, a Publix, or your bodega.
Bodega.
And after you know that you love Celsius and you want more, you can buy it in bulk over on Amazon with the subscribe and save. I'd recommend purchasing the variety pack because variety is the spice of life. And there's so many great, awesome flavors of Celsius. And you can have it shipped to your place of residence whenever you want. You're in charge. You're the captain. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com.
Well, speaking of the Lions, there's a Pewter pregame coming up. We had a great turnout. You guys came out in droves for a Pewter pregame at 9 o'clock, and we really appreciate it. It was great. The live audience was great. The numbers that we did on YouTube, on X, and Facebook, fantastic. We would love to have you. If you missed last week's show, don't miss this one. It's 9 o'clock. We went about 45 minutes. This is going to be between 30 to 45 minutes each week, and had a great turnout. We love to dive into the matchups to watch. We go pretty detailed with the injury report, especially the latest breaking news as we hear it on game day. And regardless of what time the kickoff is, whether it's 1 o'clock or 4:25 or later in evening and prime time, you can always count on us to have a 9 o'clock show for you. And if you missed the live show, you can catch it on the archive version on Pewter Report TV. And then right after that, just a couple hours later, at 1 o'clock, Pewter Game Day, Matt and Josh Capo provide all of the context, the insight, the inside scoop that you want on your Tampa Bay Buccaneers so you can watch the game on your TV or your laptop or your phone, whatever. And you can also listen and tune into Pewter Game Day as Matt and Josh take you all the way through the 3-hour game with their insight and analysis that you're not going to hear anywhere else. So Pewter Game Day is at 1 o'clock. You can join their kickoff show at 12:55 p.m., 5 minutes prior to the actual kickoff of the game. And you can find that on PewterReport.com, right here on Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel. It also streams live on X and also on Facebook.
Yeah, we had so much fun for the season opener. Looking forward to more of it and with interacting with everybody as well. We had great participation. We also have the guys from WDAE coming on.
Yes.
Last week it was Zach Blobner. This week it'll be Aaron Jacobson, who's obviously the co-host of the Pat and Aaron Show. And, of course, Tom Krasnicki will be joining us around late third quarter, early fourth quarter when he makes his appearance. So, yeah, looking forward to it again. The pregame show is a lot of fun, and the game day show is always fun. Better, too, when the Bucs win. So hopefully they'll start the season 2-0.
Yeah. So, Matt, let's talk a little bit about what the Lions have going defensively, right? Because when I look at the Lions, and you're trying to find the weak link, right? I did my SR's Pick 6 preview today, which I'll drop in the chat here in just a minute. Bailey will have his Pewter preview tomorrow. Then remember, on Friday, we have the Pewter preview and predictions, where all of the Pewter Report staff makes its predictions. So great pregame content for you with all the matchup information Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday here on pewterreport.com. But I'm looking at this, and you've got Aiden Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport, those pass rushing defensive ends. Aleem McNeil is a powerhouse inside. DJ Reader, who's kind of questionable, but he's a load inside. Like that's a big physical defensive front right there.
Yeah.
And then those linebackers are no joke. Jack Campbell, the rookie last year, the Bucs liked him. He's a weak side linebacker, big physical Iowa linebacker. Alex Anzalone, the Bucs have squared off against him for years against them when he was with the Saints, who got that interception. Was another player that I liked, John Ledyard liked, coming out of Purdue a couple years ago in the draft. I mean, now we've rattled off 7 names. That's the front 7. Like, who do you attack? Where's the weak link there? I don't know. All 7 of those guys are pretty damn good. Then in the secondary, Brian Branch is a player that we loved coming out of the draft. Last year, he had a great rookie season, picked off Patrick Mahomes, pick 6 in that week 1 season opening shocker at Arrowhead to propel the Lions to a great 12-win season. Phenomenal player. He's the nickel corner. He can also play safety. Kirby Joseph out of Illinois came from a defensive back factory. He's really good. You've got
an interception last week.
Terrion Arnold, first-round pick out of Alabama. Smaller guy. I wasn't a huge fan, per se, of the Alabama corners, not as much as others, but I'm not saying he's not good. Carlton Davis is the other corner. They got Ennis Rakestraw Jr., another rookie out of Missouri who was very well thought of and highly touted. Brandon Joseph's another safety. Their secondary is kind of loaded. Amik Robertson is the nickel corner. Maybe the weak link is the outside corners. We know what Mike can do against Carlton Davis. We've seen that in practice. I mean, Mike is Mike, right? Yeah. Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, maybe against Terrion Arnold. Maybe those corners, kind of like what we saw last week against the Commanders. The Commanders got weaker as you went from level to level to level. And I think if that's the case, got to give Baker Mayfield time for him to take those shots down the field and attack those corners, Matt.
Yeah, the problem is, like, it is true. Washington, we talked about, have 2 great defensive tackles, and Bobby Wagner and Luvu at their positions at linebacker. But Detroit kind of matches the defensive tackle difficulty, but completely upgrades on the edge rushers, especially with Aiden Hutchinson. I think the linebackers, if from a younger standpoint, obviously have an advantage there. To me, I would still take Mike over Carlton, regardless of what the matchup is. But we've seen Carlton get up for these big-time matchups against star wide receivers. And you don't think Carlton's going to be pissed off that he got traded away from the Bucs? Now he's got an opportunity to kind of stick it to them a little bit.
Didn't he have a great game against was it against the Lions last year? Or was it the Colts? He had a phenomenal game. I remember being on the road against the team in blue. It might have been the Colts, but it might have been the Lions. I don't know. He had I thought he played some really good football down the stretch. Obviously, the Houston Texans game, not the best game like Carlton Davis, but he had 7 tackles against the Lions last year in the playoffs. So I thought he played a pretty good game there.
Yeah, I mean, Carlton certainly has his moments. Everyone remembers when he went up against Jamar Chase a couple of seasons ago when they wore the pewter jerseys. Now, Chase is a smaller, different receiver than, Mike Evans. But, that's a matchup Carlton, I know, is going to be looking forward to. Not that Mike is going to shy away from it by any means. But yeah, I think Terrion Arnold is kind of the answer to who the Bucs can try to and plan on exploiting a little bit. Now, I think he held his own in the first game against the Rams. I think he ended up with like 8 tackles or something like that, so was involved. But I think they can kind of pick him apart. Whether
Colts game.
it may have to be McMillan as well, or just getting. I know Chris Godwin will be in the slot, so you might not see Arnold there all the time. But I think it's going to be a big Chris Godwin type of game. If Baker is getting harassed by the pass rush a little bit, I think it might have to be Chris Godwin being a bit of a security blanket for Tampa Bay as the Lions set up their defensive configuration.
Yeah. Lord Jimbo, too, says, I hope that Cohen is good enough to dictate positive matchups. The other interesting thing that's worth mentioning, Matt, is last week's game was the Rams versus the Lions. And this is kind of a twofold proposition here because the Bucs offense, very similar to the Rams, very similar. Liam Cohen came from L.A., brought the Rams offense here, and then kind of tweaked it a little bit and adapted it towards Tampa Bay's personnel, but very similar in terms of personnel, philosophy, everything. So Tampa Bay has some insight about what worked and what didn't work in week 1 against the Lions defense. So interesting little insight there. Now, the flip side of that is Detroit also might have more of a bead on Tampa Bay because they just faced a very identical type of team, personnel different, yes, but scheme and personnel packages, formations, that's going to be very similar. So it will be interesting to see, does Aaron Glenn, the Lions defensive coordinator, does he dial in more to what happened last week and use that film against the Rams to his advantage? Or will Liam Cohen dive into the film more and glean more of what to do and how to attack the Lions defense than maybe the Rams were even capable of last week and have success? So this will be a very good chess match between two teams that, even though they didn't play each other last week, very similar with the Rams offense and the Bucs offense and how they can attack the Lions defense.
And I think it's going to go both ways with it, with the Lions watching film, the Bucs watching film as well. But who went off in that game for the Rams against the Lions on Sunday Night Football was Cooper Kupp. I think he had like 10 catches and had a touchdown, was making plays all over the place. Have we not said from the beginning that Chris Godwin is going to play in the Cooper Kupp role? So that's why I think Chris Godwin is really going to be onto something. I mean, obviously, the Lions will try to correct those mistakes and not let Chris Godwin, or the slot guy, I should say, do what Cooper Kupp did to them. But I think that's a true advantage that the Bucs are going to be able to exploit. And, as we learned in week 1, Chris Godwin is back to the old Chris Godwin, which is a great thing for all of Tampa Bay.
Yep. Well, another great thing for all of Tampa Bay is happy hour at Walk-Ons. If you missed it yesterday, well, that's all-day happy hour. The great thing is Wednesdays and Thursdays, they've got 2 happy hours from 3 to 6 p.m. and also from 9 to close. So if you want to watch Thursday Night Football, you can do that, and you can enjoy a happy hour from 9 to close as you're watching that. You can also check out their game day specials on Saturdays and Sundays. I was there watching college football. My Kansas State Wildcats hung on to beat the Michael Pratt Tulane Green Wave. And you can enjoy some specials: $4.49 pints, 22-ounce pours, $5.99 of Michelob Ultra, Bud Light, or Budweiser, $5 Heineken Silver 12-ounce cans, and $5 assorted neutrals. So make sure that when it comes to food and drinks and football, well, they all converge at a place called Walk-Ons.
Game day at Walk-Ons is just different. And it starts with the way our teammates prep each dish from our scratch menu. No shortcuts. We are hand cutting every single mozzarella log straight from the block. Hand peeling, stuffing, and bacon wrapping each voodoo shrimp. Hand carving ribeyes for our steaks and po' boys. And hand slicing, then tossing our boneless wings and our house-made sauces. With wall-to-wall TVs and food like this, why would you want to watch anywhere else? That's game day. The Walk-Ons way.
Every time I see Drew Brees, all I can think about is his last game was a loss to Tampa Bay in the playoffs in New Orleans. And his last pass was picked off by Mike Edwards. So I just think that's cool. And also, he's also co-owner of Walk-Ons, and they have really good food and great TV. So check out Walk-Ons for all of your football games this year.
Yeah, make sure you're checking out.
If you're joining us late to the program, we're going to run down the injury report real quick for you because there was kind of a significant addition that we didn't really even know about until the injury report came out. We knew that Zion McCollum was at practice today with a no contact jersey. That's a good sign, even though he has a concussion. I think he might be trending towards that way. But Luke Gedeke was also limited with a concussion. So the hope there is that both of these guys can be ready to go on Sunday. The good news is they were limited today in terms of their participation. Usually when it's a DNP, which is did not participate, that's tough to kind of overcome. Josh Hayes will not play. He was limping around in an ankle boot. We already know that Antoine Winfield Jr. is out with a foot injury. He did not practice as well, and neither did Kalijah Kancey with that calf. That's not good. But Logan Hall did return to action with his foot injury, and also William Golston was limited with an elbow, and KJ Britt was limited with an illness. So hopefully the players will be on the mend tomorrow. Matt Matera and Adam Slavon will be out there along with Isaiah Delgado, checking out all of the action from practice and letting us know who participated and who didn't. And I'll be out there for the interview and locker room sessions tomorrow at One Buccaneer Place. So make sure you join us tomorrow at 4:00 for the next Pewter Report podcast topic to be decided tomorrow. We want to keep it topical. But one thing I will say too is we've talked about where you can put your money in terms of betting on the Buccaneers at BetUS. But when it comes to your other money that you're not going to just give away or wager with sports and the sports book, make sure you save it with your investments at Immuni Financial.
At Immuni Financial, we help you live in the now.
Congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
And even though the now may feel very different, you still need to plan for the future.
How's retirement treating you?
Oh, just fantastic.
I know I say it all the time, but you really got to come up to Colorado.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
We can help you develop that plan to keep you on track so you can still prepare for tomorrow, today. Immuni Financial. Plan ahead, stay ahead.
At Immuni Financial, your wealth means more to them than simply allocating your assets. It means legacy planning. It means brokerage and advisory services. It means retirement accounts, college savings accounts, and insurance services. They can help you in the state of Florida. They can help you across the country. So if you're an out-of-state resident, you can still get the great advice that Immuni Financial has to give in the financial world. With over 40 years of experience, let Immuni Financial help you plan ahead and stay ahead. Give them a call at 1-800-868-6864 or visit them on the web at immuni.com.
And after you do that, please make sure you're following us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV, where we have the podcast. We have Scott's Pewter Pulses, various other videos that come out on Pewter Report TV. So please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below as well. We will comment back. If you could help out with all of that, we would greatly appreciate it as well. So that's going to wrap up the show for us today. By the way, real quick, I just wanted to mention, of course, it's 23 years since 9/11 happened, and just want to say we're thinking about all the people that lost their lives that day.
Absolutely.
And thinking of the first responders across the nation that lended their support as well. So just wanted to mention that real quick. And that's going to do it for us on today's show. So for Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching. And we'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Love you guys too. Out.